Ladies and gentlemen, delighted we're now joined by Mr. Andy Richardson. Andy may be a new face to many of you, but is well known to NFU Cymru through his role as the chair of the Food and Drink Board and his valuable contribution on a number of other stakeholder groups within both Welsh Government and DEFRA. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andy Richardson.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for a kind introduction, John. For those of you who don't know me, I have worked in the dairy industry for over 30 years, and indeed I have actually milked cows off a three-leg stool. I know that may kind of age me a little bit, but it was down in Cornwall. So you'll be pleased to know it didn't turn up a two-leg stool after I'd finished. I want to focus now on how the Food and Drink Board, which I chair, is working to add value to Welsh farmers' produce. There's two aspects I want to focus on. Firstly, adding value, and secondly is creating demand, which I believe are absolutely critical at this time of Brexit. Fundamentally, Brexit will provide opportunities and challenges, and as a more positive person out there, I do believe we have to focus on our opportunities. Our Cabinet Secretary, Leslie Griffiths, announced recently that we've nearly reached our target to achieve 7 billion turnover in the food and drink sector by 2020. I'm confident that we'll actually hit our target by 2018. I think we're at 6.9 at the moment. And actually, personally, I think that's an amazing achievement. That's 30% growth since 2014, £2 billion. So I have to say, fundamentally, Wales is doing something right, and I think we should pat ourselves on the back for doing that. So let's just reflect a little bit about how we've achieved that. Well, firstly, we have a great relationship between government and industry. John, I think you both mentioned that. That's critically important, and it's something I don't see in the rest of the UK as strong as it is in Wales. It's not a throwaway comment either, and it's not just for the audience here today. That relationship is absolutely crucial going forward. And listening to what Andrew was saying now is it's really critical that we get together and feed back and say exactly what interventions and what support we need. So the second way that we've actually achieved this growth is through hopefully the work that the board is doing. And we're focusing on four areas. Firstly, investment. Making sure we get investment coming through the supply chain. Secondly, innovation, something I'm absolutely passionate about, creating new, different, innovative products. Developing the skills that we need for our current and future industry. I'll come back to that in a minute. And finally, developing markets. Again, it's critical. Wales' success will be through looking outside of Wales. And it's critical that we look at our new markets. And thirdly, we've succeeded because Wales is focusing on innovation. We've got 3 food innovation centres in Wales and provide a range of expertise for all businesses, from small to SME to large. And fundamentally, they're a launch pad for new ideas. So that's actually how we've achieved our growth, in my view. John's brief to me today was actually not about that. It was actually about how we ensure we're a productive, progressive industry. And to do that, I want to focus on 2 things. Firstly, the right products. Our success in Wales is not defined by producing cheap, low-value products. We need to focus on products, quality products that add value, ones that support provenance, and in my view, ones where we can take defendable positions in a world market. Focus on the things we do well. For those of you who came to Taste Wales last year, I don't know whether many of you came, but it was an absolutely outstanding event where we had, I think, over 200 producers of food products meeting buyers from around the world. And it was an absolute outstanding success. And last year, we had 165 winners in Wales of the Great Food Awards. And apparently that's the equivalent of the Oscars. So again, we're doing something right in Wales. So that's the first thing, the right products. Secondly is the right people. And it's the right people with the right skills. We did a survey recently, and it turned out that 45% of food and drink manufacturers out there said they did not have the skills they needed in their business to reach their potential. So clearly it's something we need to address. So what we want is people in the industry with drive, with passion, with determination, and the right skills to drive us forward. That's precisely why we launched last week our new skills strategy. And I'm so proud to tell you that actually we're ahead of the rest of the UK in having that skills strategy for the food and drink sector. And that essentially worked on 4 elements. Firstly, address the skill shortages where they're needed to improve productivity. So you heard from all the ministers today about how we need to improve productivity. We need to make sure we've got the skills to ensure we deliver that productivity going forward. Secondly, it's an uptake in apprenticeships in Wales. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there about how apprenticeships are run in Wales, but there was a massive opportunity to get that right. Thirdly, we need to improve the perception of food and drink sector in Wales. When I left university, or when I left school, rather, people said to me, what are you going to do? So I said, well, I'm going to go into farming. And I think a lot of people just patted me on the back in a patronising way and said, well, there we go, you go and do that, have a good time. It's not a leading industry. Well, do you know what? I think it is a leading industry now, and we need to make sure that we get that message across to children, to young adults and consumers. And finally, that skills strategy was there to address the challenges of the tightening labour market. We all know that. A friend of mine is Angus Davison, who runs the strawberry business, fruit business in Wales. And I hear he was on the news the other day saying he may have to move his production, I think, to China or South Africa. And that's critical, and it's because of a labour shortage. So these things are really, really, really beginning to bite now. So just before I finish, in our Q&A session, I'd really like to talk more about how food and drink we can add value and create markets for our produce. But however, my final message to you today is that actually we need to make sure that we are leading and we play a proactive role in the UK. I was lucky enough to meet Ian Cheshire, the chair of Barclays Bank, recently, and I did ask him, how do you think you can make most impact? And he said to me quite clearly and quite resolutely, you focus on 3 things at a time. You hit them hard, you nail them, you move on to the next 3 things. So my board, the Food and Drink Board, intend to focus, well, it's actually 4. Investment, innovation, skills, and developing markets. Those are the first 4 areas we're going to nail, and then we'll move on to the next one. Thank you very much.